Okay. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Are we ready? Are we doing this?
Yeah. Let's do something.
All right.
There are people waiting. Oh, oh, oh! Look at that. It's a beautiful. It's still
That is a
beautiful.
really good animation,
It's
huh?
still, yeah, it's still beautiful. Really, even after like that was for last year's conference. Somebody contributed
Yeah,
that, right?
definitely. Yeah.
It's still beautiful.
Yeah, we still have, I mean, we have actually a bunch of cool videos here. I like the My one as well because it's like renaming this one. For
Oh,
Flic. That was a really cool one too.
I still find it so useful. Those my links. I still use them like almost every day to send somebody something.
Right. Welcome. Hi. Welcome. Yeah. Welcome to the Home Assistant release party 2021.11. This is the almost last release, the one before that, of the year of 2021, and then we're gonna roll into 2022, which is pretty insane. Because I don't know, it was just 2020 in my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm Paulus. I'm the founder of Home Assistant and joined by Frank, who is all round core dev maintainer everywhere.
Release, dude.
Yeah,
Whatever.
we build stuff.
Rebuild stuff. Make something
There's actually
cool.
many other people that build work on Home Assistant, but they are not. Nobody showed up. So
Here we are, just the two of us today.
yeah, so it's good. Um, if you're interesting, you can ping me on Discord. Maybe we can hop you in if you have a good story to tell. But yeah, this release is awesome. Like I think that's just it's
It's huge, actually, which is really surprising. It's
well, I
huge.
mean, it was Hacktoberfest, right?
Yeah.
So for the people that are unaware, Hacktoberfest is this yearly tradition of where DigitalOcean, I think, combined with a few partners, sometimes GitHub, Dev.to or something, they basically, if you contribute to if you make 4 contributions to open source in the month of October, they will send you a Hacktoberfest t-shirt and a bunch of stickers and this kind of stuff. And any open source repository that is opting in is a part of it. So obviously, Home Assistant will be opt in. We always get a lot of contributions made it to the documentation because there's easy edit links, and it's easy if you see something. It's easy to submit a fix. But we saw also a shit ton of contributions on the back end this year.
Yeah.
So
Definitely. And combined with that, we had in this release, like this is a 1 month cycle, right? So this release has over 1,000 contributions made, which is just like 1,000. Like that's
that's a
just
lot.
insane.
Yeah.
That's so much. Yeah.
No, that's a little crazy.
It is. And that's just the core, right? And then we still have like the documentation and the front end and I don't know, all the other
Right.
repositories we have. But just like our main core backend code, like over 1,000.
Yeah.
That's insane.
So somewhere later this month, the new GitHub State of the Octoverse will be released. This is where GitHub always says like, "Hey, who is the most active and who's the biggest repositories?" So last year they made a short list of like the top most active Python projects, and we were the number 2. And the year before, they made a list of all the most active GitHub repositories, and we were number 10. So I definitely assume us to be up there right this year. I hope it's either Python again or everybody, of course, because if they make like a list of JavaScript, then we're not there, right? So, um,
True.
so yeah, that's going to be interesting to be hearing from this month. Oh, and if you like hearing from us and you like these release parties, next month we have an extended release party. So extended, we're calling it the State of the Union. Now,
Ouch.
so last year we had a conference. The year
Yeah.
before we had a State of the Union. The year before that we had a State of the Union. The first 2 State of the Unions were in person in the Netherlands. Last year was online. This year also travel is not really possible. So we're doing it online again. And actually, last year was amazing. Like last year, I think we sold over 4,000 tickets of $1 each to our conference. And then we had a bunch of more people watching online. And basically, we realized that like getting into a room with like 100, 150 people doesn't really cut it for like what we want to set the stage of, and it also means that every speaker has to fly in, and it's like a logistical nightmare. So doing it online gives us a wider reach, and I think that we can still do like meetup kind of events if I make it to the Netherlands, but that's currently not planned. So, but I'm definitely down if I make it that direction. That we should like get together, drink some beer, talk home automation, or whatever. So yeah, next month I think I know we're planning it December 11 at 8 p.m. Central European
European
time.
time.
Well, winter time. How is it?
Yeah, the CET. It
C.
was I wrote CEST and then auto window dropped in. He actually corrected me, so
Yeah, I mean that's
which is not
we are
surprising.
time zones are not a strong suit this year. I don't know if people
No.
realize, but we had a bug actually in the last release. We redid the way we did time zones in Home Assistant because we basically switched from one package to another package that is built into Python, so it's more future-proof, easier to use, and it actually uses like the default methods that come inside Python, which was meant to make sure that we have less bugs moving forward. However, some of our tests didn't run correctly, so we had tests actually for changing time because this is very important, and they didn't run, and we didn't realize, and so it was broken since this year. And so basically when Europe transitioned last weekend an hour back, it meant that the time between 2 and 3 midnight is happening twice. And so basically that is very bug. That's easy to get bugs because if you move an hour forward, the system is like, okay, well, I'm just doing my thing. But if moving an hour backwards, all of a sudden everything's happening twice, and the system needs to realize it might be before the fault or after the fault. And in Home Assistant, actually internally we don't use time zones, but as a user, you're allowed to configure when things trigger, right? Like and of course, a user is gonna say wants to express this in their time zone and not in the no time zone time. So that's where the bug was, and basically it started scheduling work every second because that's kind of the clock cycle we have in Home Assistant. Excuse me, and a lot of systems just got overloaded because if you were unable to keep up with like having work scheduled every second, then at some point you just run out of like power because like more work is being scheduled, more memory is being consumed, and you cannot uh, maintain the backlog, and then it crashes. So the good news is a restart fixed it, and so if you've already experienced it, the odds that you've encountered different time transition is usually 6 months. So you're good. If you are in, for example, America, where I am, and you're still having to transition to time, which is happening this weekend for us,
So
at least in
lucky.
California, not every state, of course, participates. Then in that case, either update. We made a hotfix for last month's release, just so that you don't have to do the whole Home Assistant release. You can just apply a hotfix, or migrate to this release, and then you should also be good.
But here in America, you're actually lucky. We Europeans actually beta tested it for you. You're welcome. True, right?
No, definitely.
But upgrade if you're still have to transition. You're in the States, then
Yeah.
please upgrade.
2021.10.7 included the fix.
Yeah.
So
Or today's release, which also has
yeah.
some nice new stuff, which we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, I mean, we had the fix. Actually, the fix was really fast applied. So, I'm in California, so I'm like 9 hours behind. Or, well, after the daylight savings, it's different. But basically, I went to sleep. I woke up. I was like, "Hey, there's a bug," and the fix was already there. So that was really cool. So, yeah. Now, basically, when these kind of things happen, we are able to move really fast, get stuff fixed. So, happy to see that. All right, Frank. Should we talk about the release?
Yeah, we could try. Should I share like the notes or something? Or
Yeah,
do you
let's do
want
that.
to? Okay. Well, let me. We have prepared this really well, by the way. So just so you know, we actually didn't. Let me see. Share my screen for a minute. I think I'm going to share my entire screen because I would be able to
You have a
later.
49-inch wide screen. Are you going to share the
Oh,
whole?
the window that is half on my Jesus, yeah. No.
Like,
Yeah, it's really wide. I don't want to share my whole screen. That's true. That would be this one, I guess. I hope it's the right one. Let's see. It
boom.
is. Bam. Here we go.
I like that. I like that we still have this slogan on it. I think this was from 2 years ago, right? State of the Union,
Yeah.
making things easier, and
Yeah. I think it's still important. So
it is. I mean, this release actually we made a lot of things easier again.
yeah, definitely. So some bloody blah by me. You can read it, but most stuff will be next up.
Daylight
So
savings. Check.
daylight saving, check. We talked about that, right? So upgrade if you haven't done that already. Oh, I like this one to start with as well. It's a nice and easy one. I'm going to try to resize my screen for a bit because it looks weird. Does that work? Does this make it better?
No.
Okay, then I'm not.
No, actually, it was better. Well,
Okay. I can make it even smaller.
It's readable for me, but if you're on your phone, maybe it's not readable.
That's true, but we're going to talk about it, so that helps.
Right. No, but I thought you were going to decrease your size of your browser because then it will also be bigger on the stream.
Does that work?
Yeah.
Oh, that works. Here we go. That's even better. I hope it works when I switch to my my Home Assistant tab, though. But we'll see. So let's talk about the first thing that we added. Right, that's this is a little thing that came up actually a couple of meetings ago. We had like last minute before closing, last ideas kind of thing, like last things to ask for, and then we asked for a little thing to be added, like a link that can be associated with a device. And the next day, actually, Eric built it, and this is the result already. I think you built the UI to it the next day as well. So that was really fast. Like it was born in the evening, and the next day it was built, and then everybody started adding it.
But so wait, we're going to take a step back, Frank. What is
what it is? What it is, right? So we can now associate a link with a device. Device in Home Assistant can now have a link, and we can use that link to link to another configuration interface of that device or service. For example, if you have, WLED, that's the first thing that comes to my mind because I use that thing a lot. But if you have WLED, for example, and you want to go to the web interface of WLED, you have to know the IP address on your network, right? To put it into your browser bar or its name or something. And what I have is my network gives out IP addresses to those devices dynamically, right? So if I plug in the device or go on the Wi-Fi, they will get some random IP address assigned to them. I don't know. So more than often, because of my experimenting, I'm looking for that address. So I go in my router, start guessing, forget its IP address a day later or something, and then start over again. So what we can do now is that an integration can tell Home Assistant, this is the URL to go to if you want to go to this device. And you can click on it right here. And then you can go straight to that device.
Okay, give us a demo.
Okay.
You have a demo?
I have a demo, I think. So weird. So this is my...
What I like about this is that like we, of course, represent most features of a device in Home Assistant, but we do it in our own way. And sometimes the native UI just has just a tiny notch better controls. And so this is great to
size this up a little. But this is actually the same as the screenshot, I realize now. Yeah, this is where I took the screenshot today. So here's that little button now for WLED. And I have no clue what the IP address is or what its address is on my network. But I can click on this link and it will take me instantly there.
It's so cool. I've been using it like all the time now that it's there. It's like I used to either remember the IP addresses of my devices, or I would have like, I mean, WLED has an app with Discovery in it, but then that's for that device, and that doesn't work for like my other devices that have like Shellys and stuff. So this is really nice.
Yeah, and it works. Why did I trigger that? I don't know. But it works for other services too. So for example, I think OctoPrint, yeah, that works too.
Boom.
There
Actually,
we
this
go.
is a nice promo. OctoPrint now has a config entry. So the OctoPrint integration has been modernized. It should integrate through config flow through the UI. And
Yeah.
I think it's also the foundation to add more cool stuff in the future. So there's definitely some people interested in expanding this.
Yeah. And Tesmoda, somebody asked Tesmoda. Yes, Tesmoda too. There are actually many integrations. I believe 50 or something, or 60 integrations already added support for this little link. And even services like I got my alarm system from Verisure, for example. Well, that works too. And it
Right?
brings me
It's
to
cool. Like it's
Verisure
not
itself.
just local links, right? We will also
Yeah.
link to like the cloud portals, for example, for Nest and for Verisure and these kind of things, just to get you like boom. This is where you want to manage the device with a native UI. Here you go.
Yeah. So I got another little preview, which shows another thing that I do not have another option for. But for example, I use Zigbee to MQTT. And I've added support to Zigbee to MQTT for it. It's not released yet because the Zigbee to MQTT release has happened a couple of days before Home Assistant. So this will happen in next month's release of Zigbee to MQTT. But it does the same. And actually, these links, those can be deep links. So they can actually link to the specific device on a specific web interface. So you have Zigbee to MQTT, which has one web interface for all the devices. But they will actually link to the specific device, which is really nice. So instead of just a generic interface, it will actually deep link to the correct device, which is really nice. So that is the new, well, the new, what's it called? The device and services link.
Well, we call it configuration URL, but I think that's kind of a misnomer because like it's not just configuration; it's like the device that has more information URL. But yeah, as you can see in like the examples Frank is giving, it's been added to so many integrations that like yeah, anyone there's one for anyone, pretty
Yeah.
much. And we're also people are adding these all the time, and so the like it's very easy to review and to add. So expect a lot more, and I expect like every integration that has one possible probably to be like covered in like a year max.
Yeah.
Somebody
So
asked about the ESP Home.
yeah.
Yes, ESP Home is also supported, the ESP Home web server. Although the web server itself, I mean, I'm not a big fan of it. So like it doesn't really.
I do use it. It is prepared in Home Assistant, but it's not yet available in ESP Home itself. So in the next ESP Home release, which is in 2 weeks, once you've deployed that version to your devices, the link will show up in Home Assistant. So at this point, it's prepared, it's there, but it doesn't work yet. So
Yeah. Yeah, we do with ESP Home. Like we make sure that ESP Home always has all the new features whenever Home Assistant adds something, or the other way around. ESP Home adds something, we make sure Home Assistant is up to date. But to kind of like not steal attention from each other, we do like bi-weekly releases. So next week is ESP Home beta, then in 2 weeks ESP Home release, and then a week after is our beta of Home Assistant, etc., etc. So yeah, it's coming, it's ready. 2 weeks.
yep. All right. So let's visit a device or service,
Yeah.
and I think
Oh
that's
yeah,
really
just
helpful.
one last thing for
Yeah.
device configuration URL, and actually also for the next one we're going to talk about. Zach is mentioning this would be an easy way to contribute, right? Like if you
Yeah.
miss your configuration URL for your integration and you know how it's like determined, it's a cool way to like quickly add this line to Home Assistant, and everybody benefits.
We announced this feature to our core contributors, like the main contributors that are working on a lot of Home Assistant pieces. Like I think you did it, Paul. You actually mentioned in the chat, like, "Hey guys, we're adding this feature, and you might want to look at your integration and maybe add it too." And at that point, we were just flooded with contributions to add them because it's so quick and easy to add them, and it's so useful. So
Yeah.
it's really great.
Yeah, Heino is there a single view of all links? There is not, but this is a good idea. I mean, our device view is getting a bit cramped, so I don't know if it's the best idea to like just add it just somewhere, but it definitely is possible to also add as a
Maybe you
what do
could
you call
add
it?
like
Okay, you could write a custom card that does this if you feel like it.
maybe you could add a button here somewhere or something. That's weird, maybe as well. I don't know. Hmm. All right.
All right, what's up next?
Oh, here's, by the way, the list of stuff that added. I added a couple of big integrations that most used, like Synology Plex, NetAtmo, Pi-hole, Plugwise, Axis, Unified Controller. It's like MQTT and Desmoda. The list is really huge. Also, if you're a custom integration maintainer, there's a link here to our development blog on how to add it. If you're
Yeah,
interested in that.
yeah, because like as always, like we don't limit anything to just built-in integrations. Any custom integration has access to the same features as the built-in integrations.
Yeah. All right. This is, I think, the most difficult subject we have. Should we go into it?
Yes, but this is
Okay.
also the most cool subject. I think that kind of if leading into it is that during this year we've added different entity categories like a number entity and a select entity, and it allowed to for integrations to offer more controls for devices. And what we started seeing happening is that instead of just controlling like the primary functions, turn on a light, read out a sensor, people start adding entities to control configuration settings of devices. So, for example, for WLED, how fast is an entity, the speed of an effect, for example. And what started happening is that the auto-generated dashboard started including these configuration entities. So all of a sudden it was really crowded. Like you try to open your home assistant app and you see, I want to turn on the lights, or do you want to change the settings? Like you're either in one mode, you want to control the lights, or you want to tweak the configuration. And so we now make this distinction, and we allow integration developers to mark entities as either being diagnostic or configuration categorized. And if it's not categorized, it's like the primary function. And what happens is that we have now things that have categories are kind of being just filtered out everywhere, except for like the configuration view. So if something has an entity category, you will not see it on your generated Lovelace dashboard. You will not be default exposed to Google, Amazon, or other voice services. It will, when you turn on an area or turn off an area, it will no longer also turn off every toggleable config option. I have like for my NFC tag reader, I have it has like buzzer enabled, and I turn off the living room. Boom, the buzzer is disabled, and that buzzer is like one of the major features my kids like about it, right? Because they swipe a card that says beep. That's pretty epic. Um, so yeah, I can finally drop all my custom service calls with like where I pick the devices, and the default just works.
I experienced it with this one. This is a little wall plug, which I actually used an example in the blog post. But it has like a physical switch here, which you can turn on and off the wall plug, which is really helpful. So this thing actually exposes two entities. One is like switching the wall plug itself, and one is switching on and off the physical button, like a child lock protection, which is really cool. So if I add this device to my living room and I would say in Home Assistant, like turn off the switches in my living room, it will also turn off the child lock, which I turned on to protect, like somebody turned it on physically, which is just weird, right? So this is all things that will help reducing the unexpected happening when using things like areas, for example, or targeting areas. Um, but that's not just in the automations, right? It's also in Alexa or sorry, I should not call her by name, but it's also with the voice assistants we have that you shout at them like turn on everything in some room. You don't want the child lock to switch in this case. So this is where the entity categorization comes into play. And I described it as primary entities versus non-primary entities because, well, the primaries are obviously in this case the toggle of the switch, and in your case, Paul, is for your NFC tag reader. It's of course the reader itself, and not the child lock or the
Right.
buzzer. right? So that's what the she who shall not be named. Am I corrected to now? That's true. So that's what entity categories do. It allows integrations to specify what an entity is for. Is it a primary entity? That's fine, like the bulb of the light itself. Or is it non-primary? And if that is the case, is it a configuration of the device, or does it supply diagnostic information? Those are separated.
Yeah. And I think, what this kind of came also because we were discussing like how can we expose more settings of devices to Home Assistant and to users, because users want to tweak a certain setting based on something else happening, right? Like we're an automation engine after all. And so we were discussing, should we start like a alternative way to like keep track of the state of different options, and then people maybe want to see the history of their configuration options for debugging purposes. And basically we realized like we already have the best machinery. We should not reinvent the wheel. We should just use the state machine, pass in all those entities, and then just filter them out whenever they are when we want to show the Lovelace dashboard, when we etc. etc.
The beauty of using entities for device configuration is that we can automate on it, right?
Yeah.
That's what we all used to do. So I think that is a great concept to follow.
So for me, it actually has really cleaned up my auto-generated Lovelace dashboard. Like it's just gone. Basically, although there was so much like random stuff, and so now it's all perfect. And there's just a note on that. God, I forgot my train of thought.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Let's move on.
No, I was scrolling down. I was thinking, why am I scrolling to the screenshot? I can't just open it and show it.
Right.
So let's do that. Let's see. I should be able to just go to, I think Sonos is the most beautiful one, by the way. So I'm going to pick that one first.
So this one also got an upgrade, right? It has more toggles than before.
Yeah, absolutely. So you want to tell me what we're looking at, or should I?
Right. Yeah. So there's a small. It used to be that the entities were on the left column under device info. It has moved to the middle column, and basically the way it's now organized, the first column is device information. The Sonos one is really short, but for things like MQTT or Zigbee, it can get really long. The middle one is like all the entities provided by this integration, and so then split up by the different categories. So we have controls, we have sensors, configuration, and diagnostic, and so it's all separately, so you can also individually add it to your Lovelace. And then the third column, of course, is just what used to be also there. It's more like the automations, right? The automation scenes and scripts. But as you can see, it also now with Sonos having, it used to have like a set option server, so it was difficult to discover what you could do, what you could set. Now it's just very easy. It's entities. We know exactly what it does, and it works.
So the configuration part is really device configuration, right? So it changes things about the device, how it responds and how it works, and things like the child lock, which is called the touch controls in this case. Yeah, so it's really cool to being able to change that, and you can even automate your device settings. So I could like automate the fact that the kids are to bed, and then make the touch controls work for me, or when they're to school, or I don't know. But we can automate all that now, so that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is it's a pretty. It's like one of those things that once we added it, we're like, this makes so much sense. Like, maybe we could have thought of this like years ago, but here we are, 8 years old. We're allowed to categorize entities, and it's really cool. I think that what also is going to happen now is like it's going to like open the floodgates, right? I think we're going to see a lot more configuration focused entities being added, which is great because that's what we want.
Yeah, we can now actually bring this in without compromising other things, right?
Right. But this one especially, right? Like Nightlight, Sync Receive, Sync Send, they were all added to my auto-generated Lovelace in the past, and it's like I never touch those things. Yeah, and initially when we were talking about adding this, initially we were like, oh, this is gonna like spam our database too much. But the truth is that we actually never changed those settings, right? So we're not filling up the database, and it's just one entry every time you restart Home Assistant.
Yeah.
So
Diagnostic is good visible here. I do not have anything that is already sensors, I think. I'm thinking about
do you have a Zigbee multi-sensor or something?
Yeah, I do, but those are not in my version of Zigbee to MQTT yet. So I think
Let me see.
no. Yeah, it is, but it's not showing anything. Oh, here it is. 2 disabled ones. It's actually showing.
Yeah, I got one. I got one.
Me too. Here on image.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
So in this case, it shows sensors. I think if I can go to.
Wait, I thought we fixed it, but can you go back? I thought we fixed an extra white space on the automation card under the header.
I'm not sure which this one.
Look how much white space under the header automations towards the first row.
Yeah, I know. I showed it to you, but
yeah, and then I thought somebody said we fixed it.
Oh.
I'm making a screenshot right now. Just
bug squashing live on stream.
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe I should have like a thermostat. Oh, that's C-Wave, so that doesn't show up in Zigbee. Okay, never mind. But I do have an outdoor garden motion sensor, which should have a lot of things. Here we go. This is controls and sensors. This is what I was looking for. So here you can see it actually not only splits by configuration and diagnostic. So I can see my outdoor motion sensor from it's a Philips Hue one, by the way. I can configure its sensitivity dynamically, even maybe for night or day differences. I can see the battery and link quality, which is separated. And these will not show up on my auto-generated Lovelace dashboards or won't be known to Google or the other who should not be named. But these do. My sensors and my controls to control the device, actually. I'm not sure why this one is there. I think I fixed that. And Zigbee to MQTT it isn't merged yet. So there are a couple of PRs open still. But yeah.
There's a good question from Matt Writing. What's the difference between diagnostic and sensor? So sensor is a primary function. So I mean, I would actually say that in this case, there's a bit too much in sensor. But if you a motion detector, of course, its primary function is to detect motion, right? So that's why garden motion is part of the sensors. But for example, the quality of how well the connection is between that sensor and the rest of the Zigbee network, or how much the battery the sensor has, that is not primary. So that we don't want to expose that. So that we can just, here's the battery level, 35%. That's also a sensor value, of course, in Home Assistant, but we categorize it differently.
So the diagnostic and controls tell you something about the device itself and not about the function it has in the environment. For example, the light bulb, the light turn on off is the function it has in the environment, but how it powers on is a device control setting, or its signal is telling something about the device itself and not the function it has in your environment. So that's the difference, maybe.
And as you can see, there's still a bunch of disabled entities here. Like, not every entity will be enabled by default by integrations. Integrations can choose this themselves. And this can be any type of thing that's disabled by default. But for example, link quality, like the RSSI value, how good is the Wi-Fi connection of that device? It spams a lot. Like it's every value, every time a new value comes in, it's different than the last one. And so it causes a lot of traffic inside Home Assistant. So those are disabled by default, for example.
Yep. So there's another feature hidden in here, which is not visible on this instance, though. I could try a different instance, which should be 9, I think.
Only had like device URLs.
Yeah, this is a different Home Assistant instance, which is not responding.
I have a custom integration I was used to test the OAuth. that you could hook up Home Assistant instances just with configuration entries,
That's
but
a
it
long
wouldn't do
time
anything.
ago. Maybe this one shows. There's another thing that I wanted to show. Yeah, this one I could show what's happening on this dashboard. It's not part of the release notes really, but it's part of this actually. What we noticed is that these names became long at times. So what we do now actually, this is the actual name. What we do now in this device overview is actually strip off the name of the device from the entity name when we show it, which I think is a really small, neat little feature.
Yeah. And this is, I mean, the generated Lovelace actually does this too, right? When you go to your main dashboard, it will show you it will filter out, strip out those names.
I don't think that works for me, but like I could try, but my main dashboard is a mess. It's at this
Even
instance.
after categories.
Even after categories. Yes. Although it's becoming less, that I have to be honest, but yeah.
I like all your different cameras.
That's actually an experiment, which are screenshots for the last time it detected a certain object with Frigate. So that's why you see.
Oh, yeah, you were playing with Frigate. But people that
Frigate.
don't Frigate.
Frigate. I don't know.
And for people that don't know, Frigate is a open source NVR, so it will record video from different cameras in your system, and it will actually do machine learning on top of it. So you can attach it to like face detection or detect objects and these kind of stuff, and then it's made by Home Assistant users, and it integrates very nicely in Home Assistant. And so it will actually, send data of like, hey, I've detected a dog or these kind of things. So it's really beneficial because, for example, if you have a motion detector in your garden for at night or whatever, if a cat passes by, you don't want to turn on the light, maybe, but whenever it's a human, you want to turn on the light. So, and it works really well. And if you have a TensorFlow USB stick, apparently, like, boom, it's off to the races. It can do so much machine learning per second.
It's really cool. It's pretty darn accurate. I was pretty much impressed, by the way. Didn't have that much time to play with it, but I installed it, and well, I had some cameras which I was playing with for another purpose, so I had some stuff to play with, which was kind of nice. It's kind of nice. It was a good experience. Anyways,
How do you like the Sonos Move, by the way?
how I like the Sonos Move?
Yeah,
I think it's a fantastic little speaker. I really love it.
little.
No, it's huge. It's huge. The Move is huge. Of course, it's huge, but the sound is so really nice, and I'm enjoying this one in my office. That's why it's called the office speaker. This is the speaker you're looking at. Actually, should be able to.
But do you ever move it, or do you just like?
In the summer, I do actually.
Okay.
Oh,
Because
I'm
I
trying.
was thinking about it, and I was like, I don't actually really need it.
I'm actually toggling the status light, so
Oh, there you go.
Right. So yeah, no, I actually I use it in the summer outside, but
Oh yeah.
otherwise it's just on my desk. And what I really like about this is it has AirPlay 2, which works with my Mac really well. And that works even as just normal sound output. So I can just select it in my OS as sound output and watch YouTube or Netflix, and the sound will go there. It's just really nice.
Yeah, AirPlay has been working pretty well.
Yeah, it is.
It's just, it's a lock-in again, right? I have my Android devices with my Cast enabled devices, and then I have my AirPlay with. And Cast also works on iOS, right? That's what I like about it.
Yeah, yeah, not for all purposes, but most
No,
it
that's
does. All right. Do you have anything else about device, like, or questions about like the whole entity categorization? I tried to write that part in the release notes, and it's so hard to explain in text, though. Visually, it's kind of easy, though.
But that's why exactly. That's why we got this, right? So we got to wait
True.
30 seconds before our stream hits the people to write comments. Nobody, any questions?
Hold on, we move on.
Great. Boom, boom.
The non-primaries. Oh, and this feature has been added by a lot of integrations as well. So, well, we saw Sonos and Z-Wave and Shelly and SwitchBot and many. MQTT. So if you're using MQTT or providing data to Home Assistant via MQTT as a third-party program, you can now add support for this too. So it's really nice. Oh, we're entering my favorite part, Paul.
Oh, I mean, I told you this is gonna be like half the stream, right? It's gonna be this thing.
Jason is responding on YouTube. I can pick her. Let's go. So true. So true. The icon picker. I think I've mentioned it a dozen of times on stream as well. Like, this is one of the things I would love to see in Home Assistant, and it has been contributed actually, which is freaking amazing. So thank you for that.
Yeah. No, this is, I mean, it's so good, but it's also so fast, right? Like there's over 6,000 icons, and this thing just like flies.
Yeah. So without further ado, let me scroll up to the screenshot or screen
I
recording.
want to see a live demo.
You want to see a live demo? Of course you want to see
We
a
want
live
to see
demo.
the speed.
You want to see the speed? Here we go. So, yeah, what shall I make of it?
Okay, first scroll through the list just to like,
Sure.
just show how fast it is. Like there's no delay. It just, as you can see, if you go too fast, it will like build up. But there's no delay pretty much.
Right. So this is really cool.
One of the reasons, right? Like it's easy to just render a list with 6,000 items, but it's not performant, right? Like this is actually taking some extra work to create, but it's paying off so well.
So the problem with this is if you want to go to Z, you have to scroll like really fast and like really far. The icon set is huge, which is super amazing. The material design icon guys are really, well, they're working lately a lot on adding icons specifically for home automation and Home Assistant. And on Reddit, actually, they reached out to our community. Like, if you're missing an icon, go to them, go to materialdesignicons.com and request what you're missing. They're happy to add something for our Home Assistant users, which is really great.
And so this doesn't, you can search, you can type it, of course, it's a combo box, but you can actually also search for the aliases and the tags. So you're not actually searching for just the name, but also the other affiliated metadata with it. So basically, it's going to be very good to find. So for example, on this page, although Frank searched for speaker, we see volume high and we see soundbar on there. We see which do not have the word speaker in it.
Yep, which is really helpful. It's search on category as well, I believe. Yeah, this is a killer feature.
There's one more killer feature, right, Frank?
Yeah, I think it is. Actually, I should pick a different device because it makes no sense on this one. So this is a little light thingy. And I'm going to change it up a little. I'm going to, I have a Philips Hue device actually. My kitchen ceiling light. The Philips Hue device right here. And this has a nice custom icon. I use custom icons here, which is really cool because they work with the icon picker as well. Here we go.
Oh, good.
Yeah, this is really helpful.
Amazing.
So I can search for light and we'll find all the light related things. But it will also show the light related things from other icon sets. In this case, the custom icon set I've installed.
Right. So in this case, there is a custom Philips Hue icon set that includes an icon for every unique light that Philips Hue has, so it always matches exactly what the Philips Hue product looks like, and you can add it to Home Assistant, and of course it will be loaded and shown as before, but now the picker will also include it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Super cool.
We got some questions here, Frank. People actually don't know how to install custom icon sets.
Oh, really? Okay. How do you install custom icon sets? That's a good question. I think I can show this one, by the way. Maybe let's do that. We shouldn't promote it, but like it's not good.
We have to go to hacks. Ooh,
Yes.
we're promoting
So
hacks.
actually, like Home Assistant doesn't support this, right? We make this available, just like custom integrations. We allow for other custom things. Hacks is a common way to do that. So if you go into hacks, you go into front end, you can actually add repositories and search, in this case, for the Hue icon set. In my case, it will not show up because I've already installed it. But I believe there's another one that exposed it today, which is brand icons or something. Custom brand icons, this one, which has now support for this feature as well. So for the icon picker, the custom card or custom, I'm not sure how to call the custom icon set, has to support the new icon picker. The Hue one that did it, and I think this one did that as well at this point. I saw a message on Twitter, but those two I know of. Otherwise, I don't know.
And I think you just press install on hacks and it will just be automatically added to Home Assistant, right? So
yes,
whenever you reload your front end, it will automatically load those.
Yeah, definitely. That's it. That's all you have to do. So there's no magic and no things to like modify, or it just works out of the box if you install it that way. But yeah, more importantly, this is just awesome and fast. That correctly. Yeah. The icon picker. Frank is hacks. Yes, I do. I do have some custom things. I do limit it very much. But yeah, I do have some custom things, especially for things like this. I think I have a lot of Philips Hue devices. I love them. And I really like the custom icon set from Philips Hue because it really reflects like this ceiling light. This is not something I can find in the MDI icons that match a bit for the feeling of the light you see on your ceiling, right? So I think this is really helps with how the dashboard is like presented in my home, but still a mess. But yeah,
I think that the things that are in hacks, a lot of times most of the things in there we do not promote because they are unvetted code, and you just like download it, whatever, and like all the code inside Home Assistant in the backend and front end is actually vetted by us. We make sure it's fast, it doesn't break your system, doesn't steal your secrets. But I think things like themes or icon sets, especially now that like icon sets are visual like this, that would actually be something that could work inside Home Assistant. Just like we have blueprints, this would be another thing that could like be added to Home Assistant one day.
yeah. And if you look closely, the theme I'm running is actually looks really normal, but isn't. Like that's one of my themes actually. That's also in hacks. Like my borders are different. Yeah, I think that's really where things like hacks shine. Like having those little custom things. I'm not sure. I do have a custom integration, but I'm not using that too much. I try to avoid it actually. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
This
this
is
is,
very
I
helpful.
think, what is so cool about Home Assistant. In the end, you can literally, we don't restrict customization, right? Like if you want to add custom integrations, custom front end, custom panel, custom cards, custom themes, custom icon sets, it's all possible, right? Like you can add it and you can do whatever you want with it.
Yeah. But this is just beautiful, isn't it? And always. This makes all the difference. All right.
All right.
I've linked it in the documentation as well, by the way, or in the release notes. Are there any questions, by the way?
Well, I'm just scrolling through it, but
Hmm.
is there a way to batch change icons? No, there's no way to change icons of multiple entities at once.
Nope.
Somebody's asking what your dishwasher ESP does.
Measuring power.
Smart, smart.
That's all. And that goes to the energy dashboard, of course.
Right.
Which I cannot show because it's broken, mainly because I'm in middle of the process of switching to a different Home Assistant instance. So, yeah, it's a mess. Because of the power, by the way, I'm switching to a different Home Assistant instance, in case people are wondering, because I noticed how much energy my current system uses. And so I'm switching to a Blue at this point.
Right.
Yeah, to get
I
the
got my
energy usage down.
over there. Over there. Oh, that reminds me, by the way, we haven't even mentioned it.
Oh,
Homes in Denver, our crowdfunding is finished. We have raised $500,000. We have from 2,500 people, 2,600 people, and we're gonna make it. We are creating Home Assistant Ember. We are sourcing materials right now. We are doing a small redesign because the PoE chip that we found that we initially used was also no longer in stock. So we're doing it now the other way around. We prototyped that the redesign could work. We're now buying those chips, and then we're going to do the redesign. And so by the time the chips, we will have a good lead time, so it will not hurt our shipping dates. And we also, I mean, if you actually just I think we pushed it live already. I actually don't know. We were gonna show some photos of the case. We have the first previews of the case, how it looks. It's really cool. So the case itself, we have it's like a 3D mold, like tooling, like it's gonna be like injection molded, but we have right now a prototype, so it doesn't have to finish on the inside. But it's already looking really cool. So I'm gonna figure out a photo.
isn't
And
it
then if
on
you
the?
missed it, by the way, we have Everything Smart Home did a really cool what do you call it? First impressions. We sent him a prototype, and he's been playing with it. So it's really cool. Okay, this is called the 7.4. See.
There it comes. Oh,
Boom. There you go. So this is a preview of the case. Now, as you can see, the surfaces are not as transparent as they should be. Let me just double check these are the right ones. Yes. So these are. It's going to be more see-through from the outside. You kind of see like a fading on it, and it's going to actually have like the inside of the plastic is going to be more roughed up, so you get more like a blurry look. So
or
yeah.
milky then, right?
And if you actually there's now currently because I don't know if this is gonna work. Yeah, so this is you can see here in the middle, the corner is not completely round, so there's like it was actually too thick, so it was having some issues with drying up because it shrunk a little bit when it cooled down. But you can already see that it has like the nice, I don't know, the sharp, small edges at the top. It's not just curved. Let me see. We have another photo. Oh, this photo's not as cool, but I'll show it anyway. This is just the latest version of how it looks. One of my favorite things is that we have all these arrows on it. Like, we want you to actually, understand what's going on if you open it up, right? There's thumb screws on the case. You can actually easily open it up. And so we want you to know what is going on. Like, what can I put in here? Am I M2 expansion? These kind of things. So yeah, that's really cool. And then we are like playing with some other stuff as well. There's so yeah, it's coming around pretty nicely.
Ed Lewis is in the chat. Everything smart home. He's like, I
Oh,
can confirm. Yes, this is true. This is nice. Yeah, it's so cool. It's nice to see him like he is.
yeah.
He's all in the well, the figure of speech in this case, cloud. Um, so yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, no, it looks so good. I can wait for it to ship. So if you missed out on the crowdfunding campaign, it's actually for pre-order right now on the crowd supply page still. So you can still join in and pre-order. Like there's crowd supply got their own stash that is being sold right now as pre-orders, and there's more. We're obviously making more than just for our backers, so that there's more stock as well available when we ship it out. So the price will increase a bit just because we realized with the redesign, some things got more expensive. Some of the chips that we have to source now are getting a bit more expensive. It's still very unexpected. So obviously the crowdfunding campaign, that price is not increasing, but from now on, the Home Assistant Ember, and I need to like verify that I don't mess it up. But I think the PoE kit was going to 109. Oh, I'm definitely gonna mess it up. So let me just
Don't yet. So the new prices should be like
to be up. Yeah,
for
I
this.
don't know them by heart, so I'm not gonna like. But around $10 or $20 each. Um, yeah, but Amber's cool. It's coming, and it's gonna be really cool. Everything smart home actually tried to put on a Z-Wave shield here. It was partially working, not fully working, but we're actually talking with AOTech on trying to see what's up and see if we can fix it. No guarantees, no guarantees. Um, but AOTech actually has like a mini header they developed for Raspberry Pis. Let me see if I can. Oh yeah, here's a. I'm just gonna open a photo from. I don't know if this works. No.
Something's happening.
Oh yeah, I posted a Twitter link, but I need to download it first. Technology, man, I can do this. Yeah, there you go. So everything smart home, it actually fits on the Ember board. This is a Z-Wave board by AOTech. So we haven't fully confirmed it working yet. It is detected in the system, but when you start pairing, it doesn't work. We're working with Z-Wave and they said the latest release has soft reset and it should be able to start working. So if that works, it means that we will have an option to offer Z-Wave inside Ember because this actually fits inside the box, right? So you can open the box, put these headers that are here. These are on top of like the pins that are actually in the board for Raspberry Pi heads. This one fits in. It'll be freaking awesome.
Since Lewis is watching, Lewis, you can actually try. I released a new version of the ZBFM QTT version yesterday, which actually has support for it, if it's correct, if that works. That
Yeah.
already has the latest, so.
Yeah,
But
the
I'm
shield
not
is
sure
great.
I've.
Yeah, somebody's asking. And in fact, Lewis, if you're watching and you're trying it out right now and it works, ping me
Let us
on
know.
there on Discord. We'll get you in on the stream and you can show us live. So, no pressure.
Not at all.
Yeah. So yeah, this is actually something that like Lewis just boom. He sent me this like, hey, look, I have this thing. It fits. I was like, oh damn, we didn't even think of this. So this is a pleasant surprise that the way the board right like is compared to the pins that it actually fits inside Ember. So yeah, it's really cool.
I was with Lewis on a podcast. He was kind of like a bit, how do you call that? Zenuwachtig? A bit,
Nervous.
a bit nervous, like for the recording. Like that's not predefined, and you're now going like, no pressure. Come on, stream, mate. That's cool.
All right, let's back to the release. Sorry, we got distracted.
Ah, don't
Oh, yeah, the
worry.
blue. We were talking about the blue. If you actually, so last final note, not on amber, but on the blue, there is still some blues for sale. Um, and if they're not on sale now, they should. We'll work on the final bits of the blues. They're actually kind of out of stock right now in the hard kernel, but that was because the power supplies that are shipped with it were not in stock. Like literally everything in the world is just delayed right now, right? But there
Yeah.
is still a final batch of blues coming, less than 1,000. And when they, the nice thing about the blue is that if once they come, they will actually ship out right away because then they're there, right? Like the amber we're still working on, gonna be next summer probably. But
The
yeah, the blue.
blues is a great device, by the way. I'm running it. It's really nice. So
You just, I think the thing with the blue is that you need more dongles, right? Like if you want Zigbee Z Wave, it's not
true.
inside the box, it's on the outside.
True.
But the way I have it here in my backend in the background, it's just like, all the dongles are behind the desk. Oh,
All
I just see somebody asking like link. All these links and stuff, everything is on Home Assistant's website.
homeassistant.io slash
Website.
blue slash blue, I think.
Here's the Amber link. And there's the blue link. Boom.
We'll first step into that world. That was exciting, by the way. That was an exciting time. It still is, but that was exciting. Like that was the first time. Really cool.
All right. So I show your screen again, Frank.
Yeah, it's mostly text, so yeah. But we
Oh
could.
yeah.
So
But yeah.
that's the next thing.
Well, we can just talk about Tuya without having the text on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the first thing is that we want to apologize. Like the last release, we pushed it live, like the new integration, because the old integration is based on an API that's going to be removed. And the initial timeline that we were being told was, hey, we're going to drop it in December. And December is next month. December is like next release. And so we wanted to give people at least 2 releases, 2 months to update instead of being forced to like update your Home Assistant today, get your uh, Tuya updated because otherwise you're going to lose access.
Yeah.
Now, what happened later is that once we were like about to release, we got it released, then all of a sudden we heard, oh, actually it's going to be 6 months and not 2 months of before the old API is being sunset. So what meant is that like, oh, we could have shipped the old API. So that was one of the reasons why we actually said let's move forward with the new API, even though we knew the cover integration was not there, the cover platform. And then later, what we also realized, and we didn't like, because we didn't test everything of the Tuya integration, is that the old Tuya integration, the Tuya integration that we shipped last release, wasn't feature matching all the different platforms that were in the new that were in the integration that it was replacing. So some lights were missing, some switches were missing, some sensors were missing,
Quite
etc.,
a few
etc.
bugs as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's but good news is that Frank.
Yeah, so what happened the day after the live stream, right? The last release party, and the 2 days after that, actually, a couple of days after that. I think it was a half a week almost, but we were looking at responses and things that were happening. I was reading up, and people were, well, sincerely disappointed, and well, some even mad, and I don't know. It was just I felt well, we apologize as well. I felt a bit guilty, like we accepted this, we made this move, and we had to as well. But at the same time, it's not what we want the experience to be. That's actually what it comes down to. Um, so I believe we talked about it on a Monday evening, Paulus, and then on Tuesday morning I woke up and I was like, "This is enough." I was reading a couple of comments and "This is enough," and I believe I only sent you the message, "I'm going to work on this," and that's it. Um, and that's what I did. I went to the store, to a couple of stores in the city here, and I just bought like a really like a shitload of Tuya devices. Like this one over my shoulder here. This is one. This little heater thingy is a Tuya device, which I actually kind of like. But a lot of things. This one, this little wall plug, and a door lock thingy, which I didn't have time to integrate yet. This is a light, which is cool. Some Zigbee hub thingy on Tuya, and cameras, and well, like Christmas strings, like strings for Christmas already, because well, that's coming, right? And I bought doorbells with cameras in it, and other bulbs and sirens and motion sensors and more lock thingies, and I don't know, like I got stacks, 3 stacks,
Everything.
everything. Simply because, like, I was like, this cannot be possible. A light should at least work, like, right? You should be able to turn on and off a bulb, or at least select a color on a color trail light. Like that should be the bare minimum we should like achieve. So that's what I did. I actually went through all these devices, and I've been well, my Hacktoberfest has been interesting, to put it at least. And I think we've added support for almost all devices I have, including sirens, covers, and above all, something really new, and that's cameras. Even the camera from a doorbell, the doorbell push button itself, I didn't finish up yet because, well, it was already a pretty steep hill, but the cameras work, which is really nice. Yeah. So that was my October.
No, yeah, I mean, I think you did over 70 pull requests, and not only did he add the devices, Frank actually, like, when we accept contributions, we accept them. We have like a bare minimum level of like, hey, this is the quality standards like that we need, but that's not the maximum quality standard that you can achieve. So what Frank actually did is that he modernized the integration a lot more using like the very latest technologies and tweaks and features that we have inside Home Assistant. So it's very easy now to also expand. So if people they miss a device and they're able to contribute to Home Assistant using the cloud dev tools of Tuya, you can now get it all fixed. Yeah. And then, we also talked to Tuya, and we were like they had a custom component that they were maintaining, and they were planning to keep that as a beta around to be like ahead of the Home Assistant core integration. But what we saw is that actually they were lagging behind. They were not as advanced as our core integration, also because of Frank was putting in so much work. So, and then, contributions were heading to their custom component and not to core. And that means that like it will take longer to go back from the custom component into core. And so in the end, what we did now is that Tuya agreed, and they have sunsetted their custom component. So their custom component is gone. They point everybody to core for the latest versions. They have pointed all the contributors to core. We already see contributors come in, so that's good. And I think, Tuya just has like over 400,000 supported devices. Their API is massive. It's a big undertaking. I think this, like, as people see devices missing and able to contribute, that's just how it will be expanded over time. Where I don't think we'll do another run to the grocery store or whatever, the pharmacy or whatever. Frank picked all this crap up.
No, it's just the weirdest stuff. Like this is a Wi-Fi doorbell. Like it's the chime. Like I got, and it actually makes like I'm not sure what stuff this is made of, but I will not do that again. Like I don't use it. We gotta, maybe that's kind of a thing to talk about too, right? The Tuya stuff is cloud based, and that's not my preference. So I don't have the cloud stuff. So that's why I need to go out and buy it. But we still accept the cloud things in Home Assistant, right? Like we do have weather information that is not local, and we do integrate with things like Spotify, for example, which is also a cloud service. So Home Assistant actually allows to integrate with everything that's available. And don't forget, like this stuff is really cheap. Like I can buy 10 of those Tuya bulbs compared to one Philips Hue bulb, but you do buy a cloud device, right? And people are just going into home automation the first time and they buy something cheap. So chances are people have these devices and they should be able to start using Home Assistant without replacing everything they have. So
I mean, that I think that is the big thing, is that nobody starts home automation with Home Assistant, right? They always start with something else. Philips Hue, IKEA, whatever, Tuya stuff. And so we need to support that stuff so that it's easy. Like it's actually, it's even cooler because the moment you start a Home Assistant for the first time, we find any gateway you have and we'd be like, set this up, boom, all of a sudden you have like 20 devices in Home Assistant and you're ready to go.
other discovery for Tuya is actually back as well. So if you have Tuya devices, Home Assistant will now know
Yeah.
and tell you. So that's kind of nice. But yeah, it is like this bulb is $4 and it's, well, you can actually see it's $4. Like, and it's not even a problem because I can just like get it out again and it's normal and don't even see it. So it's cheap, and yes, it's cheap, but that's how people start doing this. Like if you start exploring this, you're not going in and buy all those expensive €60 a piece Philips Hue bulbs and put them all over your house to start doing home automation. Everybody starts with something at a time, and
Right.
well, this is truly accessible. At least in the Netherlands, it is, because I went to 5 stores to buy something everywhere. You can get it like within a mile radius. I have 5 stores selling Tuya stuff, which is
That is actually
insane.
also pretty insane. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I
that
think that
said,
the reason
yeah,
why this happens is that Tuya doesn't actually sell devices, right? Tuya provides devices and allows other brands to sell it. So what happens is that the Lidl, for example, says, "Hey, we can
yeah,
sell smart home stuff. Okay, well, let's create a brand. We use Tuya devices, we put our logo on it, and we start selling it." Right? They call it Silver Crest. Or
yeah,
maybe even Lidl doesn't do it themselves. There's probably another company involved. But all in all, like in the end, it's just Tuya stuff.
yeah. This is absolutely Tuya, and then Tuya has another branch. Tuya actually sells chips. So manufacturers of devices that want to make their devices smart can buy chips at Tuya to integrate with their devices. So, for example, this little heater is produced by a Dutch company, actually. So it's a Dutch product, but it has a Tuya chip in it. So the chip is bought by Tuya, but the device is produced by another company. And this is where stuff gets interesting, right? Because there's so many devices in Tuya available. They have over 400,000 different devices, SKUs registered in their system. It also means that these, like manufacturers, could hook up those chips differently than Tuya actually meant to do. And it also means that they can customize their behavior. So this also means that out of the 400K different SKUs out there, not every Tuya device will work correctly with Home Assistant, or we will ever be able to make working correctly. So even though the amount of time I spent on all the devices I tried, I guarantee some don't work, or some won't work, or will ever work, or behave weirdly, just because of that.
Right. Yeah, it wasn't there like some thermostat that had like the temperature reported was like twice as high or something?
Yeah, and it's a pretty popular one on AliExpress, actually. But it's the manufacturer of that specific device that uses that chip and uses it off standard. And that
Right.
becomes a problem in that case. So, yeah, we don't have a solution for that a specific case yet, but yeah, maybe we'll find a solution somewhere, somehow, or Tuya. But at this point, that's just not possible because we cannot see the difference between that thermostat and another one that does comply with the specifications.
Yeah. I see some people asking about the local Tuya. So that's a custom component that implements some of the local APIs that some of these devices have. But
Yeah.
that's not in core. That's not the official Home Assistant. Tuya said last month that they are like evaluating it. But as always, right? Like, don't ever buy a product on a promise. Like, not Tuya's local stuff, not whatever, except crowdfunding of Home Assistant Ember. That one you can totally trust. But no, but generally, like, if somebody
Yes.
says like, "Hey, we're selling you this phone, and we're gonna add like this amazing feature in 2 months," like, don't trust it.
We'll see. I hope they do. And local Tuya is kind of interesting. I've looked at a lot of Tuya stuff. I looked at local Tuya, right? I've looked at it and learned, tried to learn from it and see if there are differences with the API and such. And it's kind of interesting. We could maybe in the future create a hybrid or something. I don't know, but I'm certainly not going to. But uh, the the problem with local Tuya is it needs local keys. And to get those, you actually need the cloud. So even local Tuya has local control in such some way, but still you need a cloud, their cloud, to actually obtain those keys. So it's
So if your internet is down, you restart. You can control your devices, right?
well, you could store the keys. I can
I
say
guess.
I'm not sure how long they stick with the device. Actually, I can imagine they get reset, but it's kind of like a chicken egg problem, right? You want it
Yeah.
local, but you need a cloud. So you need to set it up in the cloud to get
I
the
still,
local
yeah.
keys.
I still have my hopes are high for the Matter standard. So Matter
Yeah.
is a smart home standard that now, today, yesterday, Amazon also said now joined the board of directors of the alliance that is making this the Zigbee alliance, and now this means that Amazon, Apple, Google have all said we are going to implement Matter. And this is a big deal because what this mean is that if I'm a light bulb manufacturer and I want my light bulb to be compatible with as many things as possible, I'm going to implement Matter. And Matter is a local standard. And Matter also has like open source reference implementations that they might even be able to use. So it makes development even cheaper of a light bulb. And once a light bulb with Matter is is for sale, we can actually add it to Home Assistant because Home Assistant will be able to speak Matter because we're gonna use their reference implementation and we've been keeping an eye on their open source work. And the moment it's fully available, we'll add Matter support and we can talk locally to your light bulb. And even though Google, Amazon, and Apple have pushed this standard and their adoption have convinced the manufacturer because it will all works locally, it will just work with us. So that's cool. But then again, like this is still Matter is as much vaporware as it can be, right? Like it's not. There's no devices out there. So I'm hopeful though. I'm optimistic, but it will take at least 2 years to be like fully like the price going down, down, down. So yeah. Oh yeah, somebody Bob Romero, you're right. The Zigbee Alliance is now called the Connectivity Standards Alliance because they added
Yes,
Matter
I.
and not just Zigbee.
Somebody asked if the little lights work. Well, this is little. By the way, I do have action as well. No, I really bought a shitload of Tuya devices. That's absolutely like yeah, really a lot. But the littles work. The action strings not so much, but that's an API issue, not an Home Assistant issue. If they fix the API issue, it will work. But I requested that one actually because like I now have this string and maybe I could put it outside. So I did contact support about it. No, but all in all, I think the Tuya integration looks great for what we can do for a Cloud One. Um, my personal recommendation after all using all these devices, if you're looking for new devices, think about what you're buying and realize that it is a cloud solution, and there are also local solutions available, and consider those as well. Like you can like the cloud or you dislike it or don't like want local, or we all have opinions on that matter, and people have shared a lot of these opinions in the past weeks, especially around Tuya, right? But in the end, everybody has to decide for themselves. There's also a price tag involved, so we cannot decide on that. Like everybody has to figure it out for themselves. And yeah, otherwise, I hope I was able to push it a bit into the right direction.
Right. Well, now I feel like this kind of we don't really have to be involved with Tuya anymore as much in that like it stands on its own, it can grow, people can contribute to it, and Tuya is
Yeah.
still working on it. So we'll see where it goes.
Yeah. I hope it will grow. I will not spend as much time on it as I did last month, of course.
Right.
So the speed will probably go down, or maybe I will fix a bug or two
Well,
or
because we have
whatever.
to spend all our time on building out cool new features for the State of the Union.
Yeah, Absolutely. No, absolutely sure. No, but before, like, I was on holiday, and then I had like
Right.
surgery and recovery, and then I did Tuya, so I'm behind some other maintenance tasks I have as well, which I want to
Yeah.
catch up to, and then we have the State of the Union, indeed. So yeah, yeah,
Hey,
that's it.
before we wrap on to the next, let's wrap up to Before we move on to the next topic, there's some matter questions that I'll just quickly
Oh,
answer.
sure.
Is Matter Zigbee, Wi-Fi, or anything else based? It's all. So basically, Zigbee is two parts, right? So Zigbee is a application layer that says, hey, like a lights is like this byte says light is on, this byte is light off. But Zigbee is also a meshing standard for getting messages across devices. And then there's also the sometimes called Zigbee radio, but that's just the radio level. And so Matter is basing off the Zigbee 3.0 application standard of like which bit says the light is on. It uses thread as its meshing standard, but it can also be sent over Wi-Fi, like over it's just IP based. So yes to everything. So the cool thing is that a light bulb can be Wi-Fi based and you can control it over Matter. A light bulb can do thread, you can control it over Matter. Which is cool because it means it's the same standard. It used to be before this, if you had a Wi-Fi bulb, they basically always implement their own standard, which is why we have over 1,000 integrations in the Home Assistant. So yeah, this will be really good. This is a really good approach, and we actually see this already today. HomeKit takes this approach. In fact, HomeKit uses Thread and Wi-Fi also to like communicate. So in a way, it will be very similar to HomeKit, except it will not be restricted licensing from Apple around it. Somebody asked, do you think Matter on the whole will be good for Home Assistant? I think yes. I think
Yes.
anything that Matter supports, and of course Matter supports basic things, right? Like what you expect from a light bulb, what you expect from a switch. Those things will be commoditized. Like they will be so cheap because basically, if I follow the spec and you follow the spec and we both build it, the only thing we can compete on is it looks and the price. And so we will get very, very cheap light bulb switches. However, anything that has to go beyond what Matter supports will have their own API, will have more expensive development costs as well. So I think that if you look at the spectrum, like Philips Hue is not going to go away. Philips Hue does very cool stuff, or what are those other lights with the triangles, the Neo lights, the Neo leaves or something, Nano leaves, the Nano leaf lights. Those will
Oh, those
stay,
are
right?
cool.
Cool stuff, and it's not something you can just mimic. They have their own APIs, a lot of effects, all that stuff. But I think companies in the middle are going to have a hard time. How are they going to uniquely differentiate themselves? Because if you support Matter, you're going to be supported by the Google, the Apple, the Amazon, and then what else does a user want? And you're also not going to have your own app because if you don't develop your own app, it's also cheaper to build a product. You don't need to maintain anything, etc. So I think it will be great because we can see a lot of cheap, basic devices coming to our homes. And I think that on top of that, for Home Assistant, it just means also we can, we control these things locally, right? There will be more local options for our users that are very cheap. So the cheapest light bulb will no longer be a cloud-based Tuya bulb, but will be a local Matter bulb, for example.
Probably yes.
Yeah. And because Google and Amazon and all that stuff support it, it means that if somebody starts their home automation journey with their Apple device or with their Google Home device, and then runs into the limitations of these platforms because their automation engine will never be as powerful or their systems will never be as open as Home Assistant, then when they migrate to Home Assistant, all those devices will be instantly available and we can talk to it locally. So I think this is a big win, not just for Home Assistant, but I think for home automation in general. It's basically like the USB of home automation.
Yeah, and USB did a lot of good, right?
Yeah. Instead of like the purple PS2 port,
The green one, yeah.
one port for your printer, you're like,
Oh, and then I have these serial connections right to your to your 1200 baud modem. Oh man,
yeah.
remember those days?
Cool.
We were talking about releases.
We're talking about releases. Yes, let's do it. So put your screen up.
Yeah.
These are nice.
We're now going to the advanced section. I kind of
Yes.
like that we had some of these to report in the past releases as well, including this one. Yeah, I don't know. I like it to have something for these users as well.
Yeah.
So
wait, one second, Frank, before we
Yeah.
get in, there's one final meta question, and then this is
Yeah,
the last meta
sure.
question I'll answer.
Oh, it's okay.
Because I like this one. Mark Jones asking, what's in it for the likes of Google and Amazon?
That's
Well,
good.
there's two parts to Matter. There is the controller part and the being controlled part. So Google, Amazon, and Apple, they are not going to implement that they're being controlled. No, they're only going to implement the controller part, right? And this means that for them to be the controller and the user-facing part, that's what they want. That's where you collect all the data. That's where you can like upsell advertisements, or you can upsell whatever new devices. And all those light bulbs and switches in your house, they couldn't care less because it's a race to the bottom. There's no margin on it almost. And it also means that like it's easier to adopt their products, right? Like I think it's just like today with HDMI. If you have an HDMI compatible TV, then all of a sudden it becomes everybody can make a dongle. Everybody makes smart TV software that you can hook in Apple TV, Google TV, Amazon Fire Stick. And so all of a sudden then it becomes about the ecosystem and the software they build, and the hardware and how it's like put on your TV is no longer relevant. And I think that's what's happening here. And it gets more accessible, which means they have more people they can sell to.
And don't forget all those like companies want to put these things on their boxes, right?
Oh yeah. All right. Oh, giant pink rabbit. I will talk about my lamp later.
Oh, right.
See, I have two lamps, right? I have two lamps. This one you don't really see, but it's there too. I will talk about both of them later. So yeah.
Let's finish this up. Template filters. So we have today add as a new template filter and function, which allows you to create a daytime based on like a string that contains the time you want of today.
This is so nice, right?
Yeah.
Like,
this is so simple.
Like, why didn't we have this before?
Yeah, right. This is really cool. So thank you, Pedro, for that. Just a simple today at 10:15, and then you can use that in comparisons with whatever else. I think that's really powerful. So that's cool. Then Raman, I actually talked to. He did a couple of contributions some while back about resolving devices and device IDs and such in templates. Like, why can't we get all the we talked about why can't we get all the entities of an area, for example, if you want to do advanced stuff. Well, and he built it, so that's kind of nice. So you can now ask for all the entities that are in area, in this case example the living room, and it will turn a list of all entities that are in there. And the same works for the devices. If you ask the area of the living room, all devices for that area, then it will return all the device IDs, which you then can use. So that's really cool if you want to iterate on that, or do I believe people create some dynamic groups and those kinds of things maybe with it. That's kind of nice. You could do something with that. And lastly, Pedro was not done yet. He added something. I think this is like golden. It's so simple. It calculates the average of whatever you give it. So you can give it a list. You can pass in a couple of numbers as a function or a couple of entities. And it just calculates the average. And while it's easy to do manually as well, right? It's a little formula to make. It's really basic and simple. I think this is just elegant and short. It's just, yeah, I don't know. It's just like, okay, why didn't we have this, right? It's just so easy. If you have like two temperature sensors in a room, you want to have like the average of them in a template entity, you can now just boom do this. Does it average as mean or median? Mean. It's a mean.
Mean, yeah.
Yeah, we discussed it. We
we discussed this, right? We picked average because everybody knows what average is, and mean is a very more scientific.
Mathematical.
Yeah, whenever we have the choice between like what do most people understand and what's the absolute scientific correct way of saying it, we will go with what most users will understand.
This one was
Every time.
actually discussed indeed. Well,
Yeah.
so that's for the advanced template stuff in this release, actually. Yeah, pretty nice
Yeah.
additions. All right. Should we talk about this list? Do you
Yeah,
want
we
to
can
pick your
quickly.
favorites?
So I think the traces will stay around when you restart, which is really nice. So any automation and script, the moment you stop Home Assistant because you're restarting it, it will actually write it to disk, read it from disk afterwards, so that you can actually go back in time and see those traces. So you never feel like, oh, I'm missing out. Oh, quickly, somebody's asking, does today add use 12 or 24-hour clock? It uses
24.
the 24. Yeah. Let's see. Fan groups. If you have multiple fans, you can now group them as a single fan, which is really cool. This is, we've been moving away of like having a single group to having like dedicated groups, so like a fan group or a light group, because these kind of groups know how to group things, right? So if 3 fans are on, then it knows how to like use the speed, for example, for like how to report its speed.
Yep.
That's really cool. WebRTC streams. This is actually, this is really big. So
It is.
there are cameras out there, and more modern cameras are having this, and they support WebRTC streaming. So the older cameras, they use RTSP streaming, and WebRTC streaming is cooler because WebRTC can actually set up local connections even if the device supports it, and actually like penetrates like firewalls and this kind of stuff. So what it means is that if you have a WebRTC camera, now you can actually play it in the front end directly. The latency will be super low. It's super responsive. It's way faster than the RTSP streams because the RTSP streams have some buffering stuff because Home Assistant sits in the middle, and that is kind of like that adds some buffering, and we've tried to limit it, but we're not able to eliminate it. And with WebRTC, this is not a problem. So WebRTC now currently is added support for the new Nest battery-based cameras and a Nest doorbell, and basically anything that has WebRTC in the future can just be easily added now. The backend support is there. The only downside right now is that we have our stream integration, which works with RTSP cameras and can actually record and has like a buffer. So you can say, hey, start recording from 30 seconds ago when like the first motion was detected, or you can see the person walking into the frame. That doesn't work with WebRTC because, well, Home Assistant itself is not consuming that stream. Right now, it's just your browser that will actually talk, like your phone or your laptop, wherever you are, will talk either to the camera directly, or sometimes I think with Nest, it might go through Google. I'm not 100% sure, but it basically, they'll figure out the connection themselves. This is like part of the WebRTC protocol. And so in Home Assistant, we do nothing anymore. It's all the browser that negotiates.
I hope it's added to more. I've seen some people responding already, like OctoPrint actually merged WebRTC support in the upcoming release, so it's not available yet. So that would be nice to see. I know Tuya could support it. I didn't implement it because this was really pretty much new, and it has some special things with Tuya, so I haven't looked into it that much. But yeah, we could see more integrations add support for this, and I believe we can even do dual. So I believe we can use the front end that will use the WebRTC, and if RTSP is supported as well, the backend could use that for different purposes.
Right.
But we don't have like a practical implementation for that yet, so this is all theoretical at this point.
Right. Well, you gotta in the example of Nest, these are actually battery-based devices, right? So you also don't want Home Assistant to constantly stream from it.
Nope. Absolutely not.
Yeah. We have a keep me logged in checkbox. We used to have You used to log into Home Assistant, you would have a card in the bottom right. Do you want to stay logged in? Yes or no. But some people didn't see that card because it might look like a browser, an ad, or whatever. People just were missing that, and so now it's actually really cool. Martin Turocci has added this to the main login form. So you go to the main login form, you click "Keep me logged in," and you stay logged in. And actually, this brings me because the login form is part of our like form generation. We have like a form kind of system. We've actually updated the UI. So most of Home Assistant was using Material version 1. However, Material version 2 was released, I don't know, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. And we've been slowly migrating. But in this release, we've migrated the whole form setup to these new components. So actually, I have a demo. Let me zoom in a little. Yeah, so this is the way the new forms look. And so, as you can see, where the old Material V1, they only had a line for inputs and then a label. But this one actually has a slightly tinted background such that it is clear that this is like a form field. Yeah, the Material V1 might sometimes be difficult to see. I mean, it obviously works the way it works. It uses the new Home Assistant alert components also that we added. And then these are just examples. I think that the sliders are a little thicker. They work a little nicer. We have this thing now that if you have a drop down and the drop down has less than 4 or 5 options, it will actually be shown as a radio button. But unless it has like the no option, because then we can really have a radio button with no text. So basically, you'll see a lot more radio buttons in your forms moving forward. You can also the same with the multi-select, where the multi-select used to be just in like a combo box like this, in like an drop down menu. Now it will also be rendered just like that if it's 5 options max or something. And then there's some other I was debugging the OctoPrint form, so I added it to the demo as well. But it's so this is the way the new look, and we're actually going to move this new look into more places. This is actually, I know people don't really know this app probably, but this is the Home Assistant gallery. This is a gallery where we basically keep track of all the different components we have in Home Assistant with examples of the different states. We use this for designers can see how it looks, so we can tweak it, we can improve it, but we can also developers can easily develop because they see all the different permutations that are possible, and then when you change it, you can see how your component evolves. I'm just going to quickly. So this is like all this different automation editor triggers, MQTT, geolocation, right? It's all there, so you can just see how it works, how it looks, and sometimes you also be like, wow, this is really dumb. And then we know we have to fix it. And like the cool thing is the way this is all powered by the same engine as the demo of Home Assistant. So everything just works, right? It's kind of cool. Well, that's more from a technical perspective, but I really, really think it's really cool. The gallery is going to evolve, we hope, into also a bit more of a design resource. That's something we're working on. Let's see. Are there anything left here? Sure, Pat Air supports Flic devices. I have no idea what it is.
We made a little change to the number entity and how it's displayed.
Yes.
WLED actually uses it. Actually, it is implemented because I wanted to have it fixed for WLED. So let me pick that one up and show it real quick. Integrations. Get my 3D printer. Let's do that. So WLED now supports intensity and speed controls, but instead of showing a number input box, it will now show the slider. So how this works is that Home Assistant will detect how big the range is for the slider, like how many points it could select, and decides if slider input would be better versus number input, and automatically decides what to show. So number inputs can now be shown as sliders in Home Assistant.
Right. The always the bad example that always happened is that for OctoPrint you were allowed to pick a port, and the port had to be like, what's your OctoPrint port? And of course, ports on Linux are limited between like 1 and 65,000. So we would actually show a slider with 65,000 options, making it completely useless. It's like showing a slider for a phone number, right? Like it might be technically correct, but it's not appropriate.
Nope. So that's kind of cool that is in.
Yeah. Oh, VLC. Let's talk about VLC. This is one of those things that just kind of came together, and it's really cool. So for people not aware, VLC is a open source media player that we all know from back in the days when codec hell was a thing, and VLC could always play every video file. Well,
it did.
VLC is still around, even though codec issues are less a thing anyway nowadays. But what this does is that it runs VLC as an add-on in Home Assistant, headless. So it runs on the same device, like on your Raspberry Pi, on your Home Assistant Blue. But it has a interface, an API that is integrated into Home Assistant. So this VLC instance on your Raspberry Pi or Home Assistant Blue will be represented as a media player in Home Assistant. So now we can send, for example, text to speech to this media player, and it means that you can have your Home Assistant Blue or Raspberry Pi play audio, whatever you want. So if you connect a speaker, Bluetooth speaker, audio, normal 3.5 millimeter jack, or whatever to these devices, you can now play audio without having to have like a smart speaker somewhere in the house to play it on. So this is really, really cool.
And it works for text to speech too, right?
Yeah.
And what is really cool, if you install the add-on will inform Home Assistant that the add-on is installed, and then Home Assistant will go like, hey, you have the add-on installed, you want integration, and you click yes, and then it works. It's just like magic.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
Somebody asked if it's audio or also video. It's only audio. There is no graphical X server or whatever it's called on Home Assistant.
Nope, it's just audio.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm really stoked about this. Yeah. By the way, for the people that have tuned in now that have missed the very beginning of the stream, we are gonna next month we are hosting a Home Assistant State of the Union on December 11, 8 p.m. Central European time.
Yep.
So that will be 11 a.m. in 11 in the morning in Pacific time, where I live. So it will all be online. Same approach like this. We'll just be on YouTube. We're using the same platform. So yeah, definitely tune in. If you like this stream, you'll definitely like the next stream. We're going to talk about all the stuff that was added to Home Assistant, ESP Home. We'll look a bit forward, maybe drop some nice, cool features. Yeah.
Yeah, it will be press worthy.
Definitely.
Definitely. I think that's it for the release, Paulus.
Yes. Well, yes, definitely. I was just like, somebody just asked, does Amber have an audio port? And I think so. I need to like,
no.
I definitely know that we have a high quality DAC on board. So it's like,
Lewis, does it have it?
Lewis, we have an audio port on Amber. No, I'm looking at, we have one. I'm looking at the back on the photo now. Cool. So earlier, somebody asked about the lights in my background. So let me just
show them. Oh, that's the wrong one.
That's the wrong.
I do have lights in the background, but they're not.
Yeah, no, but it's like I need to switch. It's not easy. Okay, so I have two lights in my background, and so let me see. So here's my problem is I have this like manual lens on my camera, so I cannot change the focus, right? So I can also not move it away from the wall, because what it is, this is a picture frame. It's an empty picture frame. There's no back to the picture frame, and I've mounted an LED strip on the back on like a 45 degrees angle pointed towards the wall. And so normally when you have an LED channel, you put a the LEDs inside the strip, and then you put a diffuser on top, so it kind of diffuses it. But I used actually the wall, so all the LEDs like will project on the wall, and it will then like fuse together as being like a single kind of light. But this is actually 130 different LEDs that are all controlled through WLED. I use the Quindor, no, what Quindor, the Quinn LED Uno for this one, which is a LED controller, and so it's cool. Actually, I mean, I have a bunch of different effects. I can actually, I don't know if people are familiar with WLED. I'm still very new, by the way, right? So I'm like this is basically one of my first LED projects. So obviously, I'm just gonna completely like mess it up now. PC mode, I think. Yeah, I think one of the for now when I'm on my stream, I always turn the effects very low because otherwise it like goes too fast. But I mean, if you change the effect very fast, you can see it in the background now in the corner. But yeah, it has. I mean, it has like a bunch of cool effects. Oh, nobody sees it now because I'm streaming. Let me just. It's really cool because if you have all these different lights, you have all these every different LED can have its own color and brightness and stuff, and so you can really make really cool effects. And so basically I'm trying to have like different hobbies than Home Assistant and ESP Home because that's my work, and so that's how I ended up on WLED. And
That's so different.
I know it's thing. And we've worked with WLED and like helping them also make it easier to use. But yeah,
it's so different. No, but I actually think WLED, like I love ESPN, don't get me wrong. It's the greatest ever. But I think for things like lights, I like WLED just because it's so extensive in what it can do with lights. It's an LED
it's very
strip.
general. It's like single purpose, like, and goes very deep, right? Like,
Yeah.
so you can pick your effects, you can pick your color palettes, and kind of like bring it all together. So yeah, I mean, I like it a lot. I have now a few LED projects. I bought like a ton more LED controllers. I'm like slowly learning about stuff. I was like on WLED, and then Quindor, which is like the person that actually like made the board I use. I got it. I learned basically. I'm watching Dr. Z's videos, right? Like, and just learn about stuff. So, for example, one of the things I learned this week is that a lot of these the power supplies you buy, they all come with like a barrel jack power, and I was having these things that you can like plug it in, right? I was like, hey, this is smart. But then apparently you get voltage drops through this. So my frame wasn't working anymore, and
There was
so
a voltage drop.
well, I don't know if it was a voltage drop, but I went to a different power supply. It kind of works and all that stuff. So anyway, I removed these barrel jacks and I just directly connected like a 3 amp charger to it. But the other thing that I learned this week is that you have these Wago connectors, but these are actually cheap knockoffs, but they actually allow you to extend it. So it has 3 in, 3 out, and because the normal Wagos will like connect 2 wires together, and then you need 3 of them to extend an LED cord. And with these, I can just like extend.
For people that don't know what the Wagos are, I'm trying to focus, but
It'll cover your face. Oh. Right. So you have 2 of those, right? And I would have. There you go.
yeah.
Right. So now you need 2 of these connectors to extend 2 wires, and with the ones I have here, you can have on the.
Yeah, but they're really helpful because like these things can generally like accept any wire. I use this. I have this for bulbs, but sometimes I just pull the wire out and then I use it with, I don't know, a Shelly device for testing. Like it just allows me to quickly like change the wiring and then do something else. So that's the reason why I have these. But the Wagos are just
right. So yeah,
really cool
it's fun. I'm learning actually a lot about all this hardware stuff. Where like I come from the software side, right? People always expect that I know everything about everything, but that's not true. So that's what I learned this week. Oh, I also but actually, I have this my stupid Zigbee sensor, the battery went dead, and now I've like completely messed up the back trying to open it because they say just twist it but like the plastic just like evaporates basically under my screwdriver. Like I was trying to twist it, and now I can't open it anymore. It sucks. I feel like they do this on purpose, right? It's forcing me to spend another $8 on like getting one shipped from China or something.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't. Yeah, I have mostly I use the Xiaomi temperature sensors. I like those, actually.
Yeah, this was a Conca, I think, because they got like Zigbee 3.0 or something. Yeah, yeah. The other we are some people in the home assistant community are actually Marcel is reworking our Philips Hue integration. We're going to be fully Philips Hue version 2 APIs only. We're still using V1. We're kind of phasing that out. But I had to buy one of these devices, like it's called a, I don't know, it's called a Lutron Aurora. It's a Friends of View dimmer switch, like a button, and you can turn it. But what's really cool about this is that it's actually meant to assemble on top of your existing light switch. So inside, so in the US, you have these light switches that have a normal size kind of plate for the US, but they have a very small lever, like it's teeny tiny to just go on and off. And this one, you have like a small gray thing with like a small piece of metal with like a pin that kind of goes into this plastic to force it to always be on, so you cannot turn it off. And then this thing sits on top, and then it has like whatever in it, so it can rotate to send the dimmer effect, and it's just battery powered.
Cool.
But it almost looks like it is like meant there to be there. Like it's just part of like the design of that switch then. So I think that's really cool. But I bought it because we were looking for the rotary events in the V2 Philips Hue API. And actually, Philips Hue is smart enough to tie this device directly to the lights, so we didn't actually get the events from the API. But
what is that other one? You have that blue little thing behind you too.
Oh, yeah. Oh, of course. That is the Fibonacci 256. So this is like actually an art piece that I picked up from Tindy, and it's
that's the integration you're working on, right?
Yeah, of course. So I just
yeah, of course.
I mean, it's ESP based as an API. So the cool thing is that it is a 256 LEDs on a 16 centimeter disc, and let me just make the brightness a bit brighter. And it has just all these. It has a diffuser on top, so it kind of looks cool. And then it has all these effects to look cool.
That's really nice. I think I saw some things through mirrors from him, like from the see-through mirrors or something from that product.
I don't know if he needs a see-through mirror. This is so he has this one. He has the Fibonacci 64, 256, and he has the 512. Like I was like, oh man, the 512 is cool, but it's like $500. So I was like, okay, that's a bit too much.
I saw somebody. Yes, go ahead.
Oh, so it has all these different effects, and because of the way the LEDs are aligned, they all look kind of cool. Well, these are kind of boring. I'm just cycling through them right now real quick to see where the cool ones are.
We're not talking about general hardware. I saw a comment. I want to pick something up in the room next to me. Hold on.
Okay. Yeah, so this is so basically I was talking to the creator of this, and he was telling me that all his piece of hardware have the same API. So what I did is that I created an integration for Home Assistant, and
so I still have one of those for people that don't know it. Maybe something to show if I can get it out of the wrapper. There it is. It's so annoying. In case people have never seen it, this is one of the Quinn LEDs, the Sonos, the board that Paulus is using for its frame behind him. So that's actually really nice.
Reading up on it, those boards are like overkill. Like they work with like 12-volt LED strips and 24 LED strips, and like
yes, definitely. Quinder did a good job in like making it, but they are good actually. I really good, like them. I got a couple of them. I really like them, but that was not what I that room for. So somebody said something about check Paul Hibbert about the new Flic twist. And if you don't know what Flic is, I got a couple of Flic buttons right here. Really cool Bluetooth-based little thingy buttons you can use for like anything you can think of. And I'm not, in general, the type of person, I would not recommend these. So even the new twist, like they're doing a Kickstarter campaign again, and this will be their third. This is the twist 2, and then you have the twist 1, and then you have the hub, and now they are now doing like a new rotary button or something similar to what you just talked about for the Philips Hue. But they are really not following up on things they promised, like APIs. HomeKit support took a year and a half or something before it actually landed, and it's not really available. We cannot use it in Home Assistant for that matter because they use like the app linking inside the app, so there's no pin code, which really is not, and the API of this thing is still not available. And I got the development kit for years already. I got a box full of this stuff. It's not, if you want to use it with Home Assistant, avoid it. It's not usable. So it's actually not that cheap either, and it would, if you back the Kickstarter, sure, but don't expect it to work flawlessly with Home Assistant. Just a small warning on that. They're doing really much to push it out at this point, and it still doesn't work correctly. So that's a little thing I would warn about. They're really aggressive in the marketing, but it still doesn't work.
Like I said earlier in the stream, don't buy products based on future promises, right? Buy it.
Yeah, and then even in that case, like it is nice. It looks really cool, and it feels solid, and it like there's nothing wrong, and even like tons of nice little stickers, and it is pretty nice. Like I got even your hero card, like thank you, but yeah, it's not that open. Like the Bluetooth is specified. It's an open specification for the Bluetooth button, so we could implement it via Bluetooth, and there is a daemon that could work with Home Assistant. But it's their hub and their ecosystem that simply doesn't integrate with. Like it does work with Sonos.
It's time we make that Bluetooth client for ESP Home.
Yeah, that would work with this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I got like 50 of these or something in different boxes in total, and they're like sitting there, like yeah, and they're actually pretty nice. Like I would definitely want to use them, but yeah. Anyways,
to the IoT graveyard.
Back to the IoT graveyard. Yeah, that's where I get them from, like the box of shame, which all has this kind of junk, which I probably put a bunch of the devices I got these weeks as well. But yeah. Still good to have around. I hope one day they will work correctly.
Cool. Well, I think this is a wrap, Frank. We finished almost 2 hours. So I hope everybody is going to enjoy the new Home Assistant release. Definitely reminders next month, December 11, 8 p.m. Central European time, 11 a.m. Pacific time. Home Assistant and ESP Home State of the Union 2021. We will reflect back, look at all the cool stuff we did, talk about why we do it, where we're going. If you want to support our work of me, Frank, a bunch of others, support Home Assistant, support ESP Home, subscribe to Home Assistant Cloud by Nabukasa. That pays all our bills, keeps it all going. And that, it's our promise. There's no external money. Like we work for our users, and everything that we build is open. You can use it. So definitely support our work. And we'll hope to see you next month. And next month will be a longer one than 2 hours, probably, just because we have a lot of different speakers. It will not just be two guys sitting there like going over a browser or some release notes. It will be some live demos, I hope, or not. We'll see.
I hope so. Yeah. But that to say, I do like these streams. It's kind of fun to talk about like the general stuff as well, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. I like that Fibonacci light you have. You have to send me a link or something. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
on Tindy. I mean, you can just Google Fibonacci Tindy, you'll find it. There's some
Okay.
really cool videos too.
It looks
Now,
really cool.
there was this LED artist that actually wrote custom firmware effects for this as well. So, but you have to flash it on, and so I didn't want to go that route yet because I want to have my native integration API, right? So, anyway, all right. I'll talk to you soon, Frank.
Yeah, see,
See you all. Oh, and don't forget to like, subscribe,
the
turn on
YouTube stuff.
analytics. We're almost at 100K.
Oh,
Almost
right.
forgot to mention that. We're almost at 100K. So it would be really cool if we make 100K by the time we have our State of the Union because it's a nice round number. So if you haven't turned it on, it's opt-in. It's in the general settings. All the data processing is open, public, open source. We don't sell it. We actually use it to tell manufacturers to take it seriously and show how many people are using it. So please turn it on. And well, that's it for today. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye bye.